This is the story about a boy from Henryville, Indiana. In 1895, when he was 6 years old, his father passed away. His mother had to start working in a tomato cannery, leaving him to cook and care for his siblings. Life hit him hard at a very young age, and because of the difficult situation he faced, he had to work as a farmhand at the age of 10. When he was in 6th grade, he dropped out of high school and left his home. He started working as a painter of horse carriages. When he was 16, he faked his age to enlist in the US Army. After being honorably discharged a year later, he started working as a railway laborer and studied law at the nearby university, until he ruined his legal career by getting into a fight. He was forced to move back in with his mom and get a job selling life insurances. After some time, he got fired for not following orders. Some years later, he established a ferryboat company, and it was an instant success. Later on, he tried cashing in on his ferryboat business to create a chemical lamp manufacturing company, only to find out that another company was already selling electric lamps, much better than his company's lamps. All this hardship in life, but this guy wouldn't give up. He moved to work as a salesman for a tire company. But again, he lost his job when the company closed its manufacturing plant. By the age of 40, he met the general manager of an oil company, who asked him to run a service station for him. But the station had to close down again as a result of the Great Depression. That same year, the Shell Oil Company offered him a service station, rent-free, in return for paying the company a percentage of sales. He started operating the service station and also began to serve chicken dishes and other simple meals for people who were stopping by at the station. His pan-fried chicken soon became a favorite with the people of the area and made him famous in the region. A few years later, he took out the station and started a proper restaurant. After fairly succeeding at this venture, he started to advertise his food, and to his shock, an argument erupted out of the blue with a local competitor and resulted in a fatal shootout with one of his employees dying. 4 years later, he bought a motel next to his chicken restaurant, hoping for better business. But it caught fire and burned down to the ground together with his restaurant. Yet this ambitious man rebuilt and ran a new motel with a 140-seat restaurant, until World War II forced him to close it down again. When war had ended, he tried selling his recipes to other restaurants. His recipe was rejected 1,009 times, when finally, in 1952, he sold his secret recipe, Kentucky Fried Chicken, for the first time to the operator of one of the city's largest restaurants. It quickly became a hit, and as a result, several other restaurant owners franchised the concept and paid him 4 cents per chicken. However, good times didn't last very long. His own restaurant was crippled when an interstate highway reduced customer traffic. He sold it and was left only with his savings and $105 a month from Social Security. So finally, he pursued his dream to franchise his chicken concept nationwide and traveled the US looking for suitable restaurants. He opened a new restaurant and a company headquarters in 1959. He often slept in the back of his car, he visited restaurants, offered to cook his chicken, and if the owners liked it, then he negotiated a franchise right. In 1965, at the age of 75, he was just getting started. After years of rejection, failures, misfortunes, Colonel Sanders' franchise approach became highly successful. KFC was one of the first fast food chains to expand globally, opening outlets in Canada, UK, Mexico, and Jamaica by the mid-1960s. The Colonel remained the company's symbol after selling it. He traveled over 400,000 kilometers a year, visiting KFC restaurants and delighting customers around the world. At the age of 90, Colonel Sanders passed away. At that time, there were around 6,000 KFC locations in 48 different countries. In 2018, there were 22,621 KFC restaurants worldwide. If you are overwhelmed by rejection or discouraged by setbacks, Remember the story of Colonel Sanders, a sixth grade dropout, fired from multiple jobs, ruined his legal career, set back by the Great Depression, fire, and World War II. And yet, he became the world's most famous cook after reaching retirement age. Colonel Sanders, the creator of one of the largest fast food chains in the world, was many things. But above all, he was a great success story. With his story, we can learn that despite of thousands of rejections and misfortunes, how dedication, along with hard work, can create success, regardless of age. Thanks for watching. And
Okay, so I hope you people like the story. Now we'll move ahead towards class. So in the last week, we have covered mostly everything about EDM except this process characteristics. Already I have discussed about process characteristics, but few more things I would like to discuss in today's class. And after that, we will move forward to the new topic on the next topic, which is EDG or electrochemical grinding. Okay. So, as I said before moving to EDG, we need to know about the process characteristics. I hope you people will note down what I am writing. Okay, because few information I would like to give, and those information are very useful for your exam. Okay, so already in the when I have discussed about the characteristics of EDM, I have mentioned that the physical property, mechanical property, and metallurgical properties, this kind of properties of workpiece will not significantly influence the process parameter or performance of the process. I said rather than that, the thermal property, okay, like thermal conductivity, then the heat transfer rate. So these kind of things will be influencing factor, okay, or that will be influencing more on the process, EDM process. Right? So EDM can be employed for machining any electrically conductive material irrespective of its hardness and other mechanical and physical properties. This I have mentioned in previous classes. It can perform different kind of operation, like it can do drilling operation, okay, it can perform slotting operation, it can also perform multiple hole drilling operation, etc. And the now coming to this, you might be knowing what is precision and accuracy. Okay, so do you have the idea about precision and accuracy, or have I discussed any time in class? Can anybody answer? Have I discussed or not? You tell, you did not answer. Anybody? Uh, Anybody please respond. Is there anybody listening to the class?
Yes,
Sir,
sir.
So have I discussed, do you know what is precision and accuracy? And what is the difference between that? Have I discussed any time in class? Yeah, no response.
No, sir, you didn't discuss, sir.
Okay, so do you know or not?
Yes, sir, we know, sir.
Then okay.
yes, yes, sir.
So, you know it. Fine, good. So if you know, then fine. So precision is also called as repeatability. So what is the meaning of repeatability of precision? it is like it should give same kind of output all the time. Or if the process if we repeat, then it should not hamper the quality of output, right? So the degree of repeatability and accuracy of EDM is very high. It will be somewhere in between plus minus 0.025 to plus minus 0.127 mm. Okay, so which tells that the accuracy is very good. And another thing, tolerance. You might be knowing about it also. What is tolerance? So tolerance will be somewhere around plus minus 2.5 micron. Okay, so this is another one thing which we find from EDM. And when deep and accurate holes are drilled, then generally we use some separate tools for roughing and finishing passes. And in that case, uh, if we are using different tools, as I mentioned, so we can minimize the taper cut. Already I have mentioned about the problem which we find in EDM, that is taper cut. So that can be reduced. Okay. Now, after minimizing it, what will be the range of taper? So range of taper cut will be somewhere in between 0.005 to 0.05 mm per centimeter. Okay, that means if 1 centimeter you are cutting, in that this much portion will be tapered or it will be tapered. So I hope you people understood. So it depends on also on different parameters which are involved during cutting. Okay. Now, an aspect ratio. Now, the aspect ratio. So we receive 100 is to 1 an aspect ratio during drilling of small holes. Okay. But in that case, we have to take special care in the flushing away the debris. Okay, flushing away. So in that case, we can have better aspect ratio. Now, next is, so we talked about precision, we talked about repeat or tolerance, we talked about taper cut, we talked about aspect ratio, and now coming to MRR. So in MRR, I have discussed so two ways you can compute the material removal rate. So number one is volumetric material removal rate, so which you can calculate with mmq per second or mmq per minute, or you can take some other units also of time. Okay, and also gram or mg, how many grams or how many milligrams you are going to erode during the machining process. So that also we have discussed. So in that case, here we are discussing about volumetric material removal rate. Okay, so volumetric material removal rate in EDA process is quite low. So which will be somewhere in between, you can say 0.1 to 10 mmq per minute ampere. Okay, so it is somewhat low. Actually, in all the unconventional machining processes, we will find low MRR only. But in that also, EDM doesn't give much MRR. Okay, so it is even somewhat less. Right. Now, surface integrity. Now, coming to surface integrity. So surface integrity deals basically two issues. Number one is topography of the surface, and second one is surface metallurgy. So what is the meaning of surface metallurgy? That means possible alterations in the surface layers after machining, right? So surface integrity affects performance. It will also affect the life and reliability of any component. Okay, so this is something about surface integrity. Now coming to another one thing, that means after machining, what all effect we can find on the machine surface or on the workpiece. So you have been already told that heat affected zone, as it is electrothermal process. So definitely there will be some influence of heat affected zone, and I said it will be less, but it will be there. Not only that, even we will find some recast layer. Okay, so typically what will the range of these, okay, or what will the values of this, those things also now have a look. Okay, so okay. So if you consider that you have taken an workpiece. Okay, you have taken this kind of blank, okay, or this kind of workpiece, and your intention was to make a hole or to make one hole or drill. Okay, so the diameter of the hole is somewhere around D, or we are considering it as D, diameter of the hole. Okay, right. Now your intention is what? That the complete machine means this is the workpiece. Okay, this is the workpiece. So in this workpiece, we will have only this hole. Okay, and it should be of some you get some depth of it. Okay, but it's quite natural. We'll get some depth. Fine. Now you never want that there should be any change in microscopic structure as well as the mechanical property of the surrounding zone. Okay, but there will be a few changes in the property of the material in the surrounding zone. What will be it? So first and foremost thing which you are going to get is the recast layer, but that will be very less. So outside of this hole, you will find some recast layer. Okay, and it will be limited to certain extent. How much it is and all these things I will tell. So this is number one, recast layer. Okay, so what I said, this is recast layer. Okay, and another one thing which we are going to find is HAZ, heat affected zone. So for example, it will be up to here. This represents HAZ or heat affected zone. Okay, clear. And so finally, this will be our converted layer. Okay. So hope you people have drawn this diagram. Okay. So if we go for microscopic study of the machined component, so in this case we have drilled a hole, and this microscopic machine component will reveal three kind of layer. Okay. So number one layer, as I have written, that is V-cast layer. Number two is heat affected zone, and another will be converted layer. Okay, another will be converted layer. So you know very well that material is removed by the mechanism called melting and vaporization. Melting and vaporization. Okay, so this is the mechanism of material removal. Already I have told. Okay, so if the molten metal or molten material from the workpiece is not flushed out quickly, then it will re-solidify and will get hardened. Okay, so you might have already studied about Martensite structure, okay, and Barite structure. All these things you might have studied in your materials science and metallurgy subject. Okay, so here from this portion we are going to melt, so it will vaporize. If it doesn't vaporize quickly, okay, and also after that, once we are removing the material, if those debris are not flushed away, so you here in this portion we will have some deposition. Means it will be very hard, okay, due to the cooling effect of dielectric, and it will get adhered to the machine surface. And this thin layer, it will be somewhere in between, uh, it will be somewhere around 2.5 to sometimes 50 microns. 2.5 to 50 microns. Okay, so this will be known as recast layer. Okay, so this layer is very hard, extremely hard, as well as brittle in structure. Very hard and brittle. Okay, and the surface is porous, and it may contain some micro cracks also. So this portion is dangerous portion. Okay, so it will be porous as well as it may contain some micro cracks. Right. So these surfaces should be removed before using the product. Okay, and the layer after that, or after this recast layer, that means this layer is known as HAZ, or heat affected zone, and this will be somewhere around 25 micron thick. Okay, so this data already previously I have discussed. So heating, cooling, and diffused materials are responsible for the presence of heat affected zone. Now, thermal residual stresses, grain boundary weakness, then grain boundary crack. So these kind of things may happen in this heat affected zone. So what I said, thermal residual stress, okay, then grain boundary weakness, grain boundary weakness, and grain boundary cracks. So these things may happen or maybe present in this heat affected zone. Okay. And another one thing I discussed about this converted layer. So converted zone or converted layer is identified below the heat affected zone. Okay. And it is characterized by a change in grain structure from the original structure. Okay. So the here some structure you will find, but here the structure is completely different. That's why it is known as converted layer or converted zone. Okay. And this converted zone will be somewhere up to this, for example. Okay, this portion is converted layer, so it will be up to this. Fine. So we are going to get three layers. Layer number one is recast layer, layer number two is heat affected zone, and layer number three is converted layer. Okay. So excessive local thermal expansion and subsequent contraction will result in residual tensile strength stresses. Okay. In that layer. Okay. So many experiments people have done or researchers have done, and on different alloys or steels like mild steel or some brass, and we found or they found or researchers found the thickness of this affected layer was somewhere less than 25 micron. So you are measuring some diameter, but along with that, you are going recast layer, heat affected zone, and converted layer. So these three are absolutely free with the machine surface. Okay. Now coming to the surface finish. Okay, so this is about another one, and then we have the last one, which is surface finish. So what is the surface finish? We achieve 0.8 to 3.1 micron roughness value during EDM. But as I said, that if you are going to change the parameter, that means your T on is less, T off is more, or you have used some correct electrode material, and then you are using current all machining parameters. Okay, your tossing rate is good, etc. With that or with those configuration or setup, we can even achieve a product which is having the surface roughness value of 0.18 to 0.25 microns also. Okay, right? But if you are using more T on or IP, that means peak current, or SB, that means servo voltage, so in that case, you are going to get a reduced surface finish. Okay, so this is something about EDM. Okay, these are a few things about EDM. And in the last class, I have discussed about a few graphs. Okay, that I'll show you some graphs. So those graphs I'll draw, and I'll show you the characteristics of or what is the influence of different input parameters on the output responses. So those things I'll give a brief, and then we will move forward to the this thing, EDG or electric discharge grinding. So if just draw these graphs, and in exam these graphs are compulsory. Okay, once they are asking about characteristics and all, these graphs are compulsory. Okay. So let us consider that we are going to find out how the pulse duration or pulse on time will affect on MRR and surface finish, and you can say electrode wire, that means TWR. Okay, so number one we will find MRR, MRR versus T on. Okay, or T on versus MRR. Then in second graph we are going to find out the roughness versus T on, and then we are going to find out TWR or tool wear rate versus T on. These three graphs we are going to study. Actually, if you want to find out some other graphs, then you need to refer some research papers where they have considered the various input parameters and they have considered various output responses also. Then you can find out like what all inferences they got. Okay, so typically if you are using pulse duration, so say we have 0 microsecond everything. Okay, so this is T on, and here we are going to represent MRR. Okay, or volumetric material rate, or you can go for weight loss also. So let us go for this time mg per minute. Okay, so let's go for it, and T on must be in microsecond. So if we consider that this is a 20 microsecond, then 40 somewhere around 100 microsecond, this is 100. Okay, and say we are going to increase it. Okay, so in between also many will be say up to 500 microsecond we are going. The nature will be if it is moving towards somewhere around 100 or 110 or 140. Okay, we are going to get somewhat less. Okay, somewhat less, and then it will increase. That is the nature, or it will increase. Okay, or material removal rate will increase when you are increasing T on. Now, if you use different electrode materials, like you can use brass, you can use copper, okay, you can use graphite. So depending on that, and keeping the same dielectric, if you are suppose using distilled water, okay, you are going to get this kind of curve. Okay, in some cases, like if you are going to use copper, then your pulse duration, total pulse duration means T on plus T off. Okay, so it is somewhere around T on plus T off. If we are mentioning that, then it will be somewhat downwards. Okay, where you are using or you are having some T on, but T off is much more higher, so total pulse duration will be also more. In that case, you are going to get somewhat downward graph. But in this case, if you are going to have plus T off, so in this case, again, same, you can keep 20, say here 100, say here 500 if you are keeping. And if you are going to roughness R, so in that case, whatever electrode you use, okay, it will be increasing. Like suppose this is one electrode. So if you are using brass, it will be somewhere like this. Okay. So in case of copper, you will get something like this. In case of brass, you will get this. Why I am making this? Because experiment number one, experiment number two, three, four, like that. Okay, so once you are increasing the T on, so in increase of in T on, this will be surface surface value. Okay, and tool wear rate. In case of tool wear rate, if your pulse duration is increasing, so this slope and this slope both will be somewhat similar. Okay, so here you may get something downward curve, or you may go like this. So it will depend on which kind of electrode you are using. Like this kind of profile will come in brass. Okay, if you are using copper, so you are going to get this kind of curve. So these things, if people are advised to visit some or to refer some papers, research papers, and then only it will be useful, or you can understand like a different. I have discussed here T on and T off, what is the combined effect of it. But if you want to find out what is the influence of only T on, what is the influence of only T off, or what is the influence of only flushing rate, or you can say you can choose any other like a current, peak current, or servo voltage. Okay, so these kind of factors if you are choosing, so how it is influencing all the parameters, okay, or all the responses, so that you can understand. You have to find out some research paper for that. Okay. Okay, anyhow, I found like the time is over. So EDAG, or electric discharge grinding, in tomorrow's class we will start discussing. So in the tomorrow's class I'll be covering complete EDG, and if time permits then we will move for wire cut EDM, and that is the last topic of the third unit. Actually, this unit, this EVM was not very big, but I tried to give you more and more input so that you can also understand in better way. Next class, as I said, we will discuss about all these things. So if anybody has anything to ask or any doubt to be clarified, you can free to pursue.
No, sir.
Yes, something you are telling, Manijit.
No doubt, sir.
So you understood everything, have noted down everything.
Yes, sir.
Huh?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Noted down.
Okay, okay. So if any other person has anything to ask, then you can ask, or else we will end for today. Acha, what about objective? Yes, this question.